Now I want you to listen to a statement relating to farm policy that Minnesota Congressman Collin Peterson, whose district, the 7th District in western Minnesota, covering the Red River Valley, as well as along the edge of both North Dakota and South Dakota. And I want you to listen to what his comments were on this massive amount of market facilitation payments that are going out, and how I, Alan Roebke, believe they're totally unfair, and even the fact we don't need them. The Roebke plan addresses the issue. Now listen to some of the things Collin Peterson had that I believe should be talked about at the state fair for the rest of the fair, as well as all over the Corn Belt, especially in the Red River Valley of Minnesota, North Dakota, and in South Dakota and Iowa.
Part of the reason for that is there's not a good farmer in America, not a farmer in America that'd rather not have a good crop at a fair price than a government check.
The administration has spent $28 billion by this winter, and that's going to help somewhat. But I think the way they're doing the facilitation payments this time around, you're going to have people get significant amounts of money out of this that maybe you don't really need it all that bad, and the folks that are having trouble aren't going to get hardly anything out of it. So that's going to cause a lot of controversy, and if we do have to try to make some kind of an effort to try to deal with this in the winter, I don't know how we get the political support to do it, because I'm getting pushback from some of the members, not on the committee, but some of the other members, that there's all this welfare going to farmers, from this administration. And that, I wouldn't characterize it that way, but that's what some people are saying, and it's the whole thing is going to be a troubling situation this winter, I believe.
The president has suggested that the MFP payments last year and even this year were in place to help make farmers whole. Are they whole?
I think it depends on who you are. They may have made some farmers whole, but others, I don't think it's hitting where they need it. We don't know that for sure either, but I've asked my committee to give me, the staff to give me some information about the trade with China. And from the one thing that I saw from somebody, the amount of trade that we lost with China was something like $10 billion. And, the facilitation payments are 14. So I don't know if those numbers are true or not, but, I can tell you this, I'm going to have some farmers in the southern part of my district that have both hogs and crops that are going to get $250,000 from each of those tranches. So you're going to have some producers that are going to get $500,000 right to the bottom line. Where some of my other farmers that I talk to are expecting to get $20,000, $30,000, which, helps, but is not going to bail anybody out. So it kind of depends on who you are.
I asked this question of Congressman Lucas last week, and both of you in the bipartisan fashion have brought us the 14 and the 18 Farm Bill, and we certainly salute your work, but we made a policy shift toward a risk management Farm Bill. And now, over the past couple of years, we're back to a payment situation to help farmers through. Are we in dangerous water of upsetting what our ultimate goal was?
I think we are. When I first heard about this last year, I told the secretary, that this is something we have worked hard to eliminate, these ad hoc payments, for whatever reason, whether it be disaster or whatever it is. And I think it, as I said earlier, undermines us. If we need to do something, it's going to make it very much more difficult to get political support, to respond to what the situation is. Again, depending on who you are and what your situation is, if you've got your farm paid for, you've got all your equipment paid for, and you haven't got any debt, and you get $500,000, that's a
also shared with me that they're just not sure we're going to be able to avoid a purge in the industry, and maybe of some of those young and beginning producers that the industry really doesn't need to lose.
That's what I've been saying. I think that's where we're headed. And as I said, the folks that have got, had some good years. Back, 12, 13 in that area, we had some really good years. And people coasted on that for a while. We've had some really good crops, which have made up for the low prices. But it depends on who you are. And so if you're a new producer that started after the good years, and you started in 14, and you're trying to get a foothold here and build some equity, that hasn't happened. And what you get out of this facilitation is not a heck of a lot. And the bankers looking at the future. I mean, I had one report come across a week ago from my office. Some economist said he thinks we're looking at low prices for 9 years into the future. It's really troubling. And I said back last summer in the conference committee meetings that I thought that the safety net was not adequate that we were dealing with. But Chairman Conaway and Roberts said, well, we have no money, and so this is what we have to deal with, and we got to get this bill done. And I agreed that we need to get it done, so we went ahead without any changes. But I myself felt that the safety net was not adequate to help people stay the course in this thing.
Well, we just heard some very interesting and very true comments from Minnesota Congressman Collin Peterson, who I know well. And the issue with these MFP payments, there are so many things that should be big time in the news, but a person like Alan Roebke that's been involved in these type of issues for years and traveled to farms on all 6 continents, I can't be in the debate. I took on the system and lost big time, and because I dig, and I'm not here to represent advertisers or title or mass wealth, and I used to have mass wealth myself. But what I'm getting at is I have put forth since Big Iron Show over just about a year ago now, coming the second week in September, called the Roebke Plan, based on sugar policy that I sold to Tip O'Neill, former Speaker of the House, back in the Reagan days, and with the help of the late Chuck Canton, in the presence of Minnesota Congressman Rick Nolan. And I have had this policy out there for all the commodities that's basically a global policy, not just for the U.S. So we put a reasonable support in grains and fiber crops that farmers both in the United States and all across the world raise to get away from these cockeyed subsidies. And I've been pushing that for 40 years. And yet you can't get a foothold. And I've got a transmitter, TV transmitter sitting right west of Fargo that I could put on for the people in Red River Valley, and in fact all over this region on a very reasonable basis. But a guy like me, because you took on the world and lost, you get blocked at every corner. And when you don't support the majority of what's going on that my Congressman Collin Peterson was just talking about, you are blanked from the podium. You are censored, whether it's on TV or at a farm meeting. And if you do, the reporters that are there will not cover the facts that you bring up or the mind-boggling financial savings that the Roebke Plan will deliver for both the taxpayer as well as income increase for our farmers. The Roebke, you just heard Chairman Peterson talking about there's no support in this thing. I've been screaming about that since they started this Freedom to Farm in 1994, or whenever they first passed it, that there was no support mechanism, and there is still no support mechanism to see that speculators and end users don't rob the farmer as well as rural America blind, like it's been happening now for years. And I want you folks at the State Fair to be talking about this. I want the people across the Corn Belt to be talking about this. And tell them you want Alan Roebke in the mix. And so I appreciate you listening a little bit. Get me on Twin City TV, Fargo TV, Grand Forks TV, Sioux Falls, Omaha, Des Moines, and Cedar Rapids area, and we'll get this problem solved. Sound economics always work. Sound policy always works. And get away from these cockeyed subsidies that Chairman Peterson was just talking about. He's got the Roebke plan, and I want to see that he passes that on to FAPRI, that is supposed to give Congress advice. And better yet, I just want him, I've sent him an email and said to him, Mr. Chairman, you, Sonny Perdue, and myself get together on a conference call. We three of us tell Trump it's time you just adopt the Roebke plan, and ethanol consumption goes from E10 to E11 in every pump you're using. My old 85 Plymouth, that's the only vehicle I can afford, will run just fine on E11, just like it runs on E10. And all of a sudden we're going to put sound prices, because under the Roebke plan, the farmer this fall, as soon as he gets his crop out, he can take a $4 corn loan, a $10 bean loan, and a $5 wheat loan. And you look at the numbers from Farm Doc, the University of Illinois, their costs and yield projections for Northern Illinois, which is a very good example across the key area of the corn, soybeans, and wheat belt. And all of a sudden you got sound farm policy taking care of our farmers and saving you, the taxpayer, $16 billion. I think the first 7 is going out regardless. So, but let me save you the other 9 because it can easily be done. Alan Roebke, Alexandria, Minnesota, Inform TV, the censored TV channel in Minnesota, but you can watch a little of this, and there's some few other clips on YouTube. It's not even a fraction of what I've produced. And when I was on the air here for 4 years, as well as on Fargo just to test things out, I was on the roof of the IDS for some testing, and the day I got fiber connected here from Alexandria to the roof of the IDS, the jerks I was dealing with from New York and Belle Plaine, Minnesota, cut me off just as I was ready to generate some revenue. So that's the kind of world, when you take on the system, what you face. Alan Roebke reporting. I want this topic talked about at the State Fair, and bring Alan Roebke's name and Inform TV into the debate, and we'll solve not just the farm issues, we'll look at all the issues of the world, because a lifetime experience gives you some real good background to address the mess not only the U.S. economy is in, but the world. Thank you very much. We're here today because everybody knows now that the bipartisan 2018 Farm Bill is not supporting the major crops as it should, or ethanol. And so we need an option in the Farm Bill to see that the farmers have a program to give them cash flow immediately by raising the loan rates. The Roebke plan does that.
I know you have a plan out. Why don't you get that to me again? You've given it to me before. I would disagree on the fact this 18 Farm Bill is not good for agriculture. I disagree, and I look forward to seeing your plan.
I appreciate it, Mr. Secretary.
I'll follow up on your point. Ethanol last Friday, ethanol futures spot month versus RBOB futures spot month, 75 cents a gallon discount. We're creating a product that's superior quality-wise and giving it away. We need access to markets. We need lower regulation. So anything you can do, I know you're not the EPA, but any input that you can give on that, I think would be much appreciated.
Well, nothing happens very fast in D.C., as you know, Phil. I think we're making good progress on that now. You continue to talk about markets. What more can the president do than what we've done here? The Wheeler's committed to have those year-round rules out before the driving season where these people can plan. So you're going to need to help me understand privately what more you think we can do.
You got one way in the back that has it. Way in the back. Talk loud, I'm deaf.
Okay, I will. My name is Joe Nathan, I'm from Watertown, Minnesota. And I got here a little late, so if this has been talked about, I apologize. But one of the things we've talked about here, you know, if we have cheap grain, we got cheap milk, we got cheap beef. And I went to several meetings before the Farm Bill was put together, and we talked about raising the loan prices. And that seems to be something that nobody wants to touch. And I just don't understand that, because to me it seems like it's a simple, reasonable help for farmers. And the loan prices haven't been brought up to date for a number of years compared to the cost of the grain. And we're just wondering why that seems to be such a taboo thing, because I was told one time that it's put in the Farm Bill as an expense, but it's never really credited back, that these loans are actually come back. And a lot of people don't understand that. And I wonder if that's the problem, because when I pay my loans back, I know I pay back with interest. It don't cost the government anything. Well, I don't know if it costs them anything, but they get their money plus some interest. And if we put a higher loan rate, that would give some of these farmers a little money to work with. And it would also put a support on them, a little bit of support on the markets right now. When we have some problems in the market, it would encourage them. You could put it into, I'll take it off the market for a while and let them come back and bid to get that corn back in. And one other comment, and then I'll sit down and shut up. You made a comment that you have a lot of new people coming onto the Ag Committee. And I don't think people in general, other than out here in rural America, really understand how important agriculture is to this economy, to this nation. I was told by economists once that your raw materials is what makes your economy in any nation. And agriculture is one of the largest raw materials in the United States. And if you don't get a good price for that, you don't have a strong economy. When we're talking about how to pay off our debts and all this stuff, we need to have a strong ag economy, to have a strong general economy to pay off some of these bills and to have these programs for people instead of continuously borrowing money. So I think it's very important to educate these new freshmen and stuff on that.
So we did raise the loan rates. Do you know that?
A little bit, I understand.
What?
Somewhat, yes, I did.
We raised them 15%. And the only reason they got raised was because I insisted on it. I was the only guy in that room that wanted to raise those rates. Everybody else fought me on it.
I want to thank you for that.
So we got, the first time we've had a loan rate increase in, I don't know, 15 years, 20 years, something like that. It wasn't as much as it wanted, but, you know, it does help people. But the folks in the room said, well, why do we want to do that? It's only good for 9 months, you know, they have to pay it back. But they don't understand the cash flow problems that a lot of people have. So
if we had a loan rate of $3 on corn, just think how that would help the cash flow farmers and farmers now that want to go to the spring.
well, we went from $1.94 to $2.20, I think it was. So
when does that come effective?
you know, what's that?
When does that come effective?
Effective date. It was effective the first of the year,
Okay.
I think.
No,
Is not?
not till January of
Of
2000.
next year?
Yeah,
Really?
it's not available.
I'm learning something here.
I didn't get that on my loan here.
Okay, well,
Whatever.
it was in there. I guess maybe they can't implement it right away. I don't know what the problem was. But.
Again, I'll thank you, Collin, for what you did in the dairy portion of the Farm Bill. I have a couple concerns. One is that with the feed costs being low, and typically your small farm owns the land and machinery to produce that feed, and there's a lot of people that say he can't produce it for the low price. So what this program basically does is it's ensured a very small profit on the dairy portion, but it's incurring a loss on the cropping portion of that small farm. When you get to the bigger farm, a lot of times they don't own the land and machinery. They contract that out at market price, so there you've shifted the loss back to the grain farmer and away from the dairy entity. That's one concern I have, to see how that shakes out. The second thing, you know, that kind of gives the multinational and the cooperative buyers of the products a license to buy it cheap. You know, we have a minimum wage law in this country, but we don't let the buyer of the wage pay whatever they want and then have the workers go to some government office and show them their pay stubs and get $4 an hour. We make the buyer of that labor pay what we think they need. But in agriculture, we let the multinational buyers buy it cheap, and then we run everybody into a government office to get money.
Inform TV is at Cardinal Manor in Alexandria, Minnesota, filming a protester. Sir, what's your beef?
There was methamphetamine cooked over here at the apartment building. Several of the apartments have been cooked with methamphetamine. And my beef is they started cooking in one of the apartments, and I was working with law enforcement at the time, the police, but I'm not going to say which police. And then they busted it, and then the guy cooked out of 5 apartments and kept moving around, and the manager would let him switch apartments, and so he got 5 apartments out of the thing from moving from one to another, and he cooked methamphetamine in all 5 of them. And then there was more meth cookers that came in, and I had a meth lab underneath me because I used to live here. And then I was calling the cops, and the cops would not respond to me. They wouldn't come over. And then I found out from a county commissioner that he said, haven't you boys figured it out that there was informants cooking here? That's why they're not coming, because they already know that they're cooking methamphetamine. And I'm not going to name the county commissioner. I kept on calling, and then the word got out to the Attorney General, Andrew Luger, and he said if the cops are crooked and corrupt, he wanted them, being a federal informant. And every time I called law enforcement or anything happened at this apartment building or threats were made, I contacted Andrew Luger, so it's all documented to the T. But it's a big cover-up with the police in the city of Alexandria. It's a big cover-up.
Well, thanks for giving your beef to Inform TV, so the viewers of Inform TV all across the state can get their reaction from you, and we wish you well on your paid freedom of speech.
All right, thank you.